The Committee on Natural Resources will come to order. Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare recess of the committee at any time. For planning purposes, we will plan to recess today at noon for approximately 10 minutes. The committee is meeting today to hear testimony on examining the President's fiscal year 2026 budget request for the Department of Interior. Under Committee Rule 4F, any oral opening statements at hearings are limited to the chairman and the ranking member. I therefore ask unanimous consent that all other members' statements be made part of the hearing record if they are submitted in accordance with Committee Rule 3.0. Without objection, so ordered. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to welcome Department of Interior Secretary Doug Burgum to the committee today to discuss President Trump's fiscal year 2026 budget request for the department and to hear more about the work that he and his staff have undertaken and their priorities for the year ahead. The committee has jurisdiction over the Department of Interior and its agencies, which oversees 480 million acres of surface land, 750 million acres of subsurface and mineral estate, and more than 2.5 billion offshore acres. Revenues from authorized activities on these lands and waters generated about $20.1 billion for the Treasury in 2025. With numbers like those, we are reminded how much of America's strength is backed and generated by its abundant natural resources. President Trump has issued a charge to unleash American energy and secure our mineral supply chains, and he appointed Secretary Burgum to lead that charge. In the 119th Congress, committee Republicans have answered that call, most recently with the House passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Through common sense, science-based, and economically sound provisions, this committee exceeded our instructions and generated over $18.3 billion in savings and new revenue for the federal government by reinstating quarterly onshore and gas lease sales, by increasing domestic mining activity, incentivizing the development of AMWR in Alaska. In a rapidly developing world of high technology, if the United States is to maintain its global leadership position, we must work with the administration to secure our energy future. Our national parks and our federal lands and waters are economic drivers in many communities across the nation. With more than 570 million Americans visiting DOI-managed lands annually, the outdoor economy contributes $1.1 trillion each year in gross economic impact that sustains communities and provides good-paying local jobs. We can promote further access by collaborating with Secretary Burgum and the Trump administration to roll back regulations that hinder access to our public lands and waters. We should focus the efforts of our federal land management agencies on responsibly managing the lands they have been entrusted with and providing excellent service to visitors and permittees of our public lands alike. Legislation like the Bipartisan Explore Act, which passed at the end of last Congress, will help do just that, and we look forward to working with the Secretary to implement this landmark legislation. Our nation is stronger because of the work done by this committee at the Department of the Interior as well. Unleashing American energy and mineral production, increasing public access, and streamlining onerous permitting processes will provide for the security and well-being of our country as we responsibly steward our resources. I look forward to hearing from Secretary Burgum regarding the Trump administration's priorities for the department and the opportunities that we have to work together to strengthen our country, unleash our natural resource wealth, and chart a path that we can look back on one day and saying that we did something that's worthy to be remembered. Secretary Burgum, welcome, and thank you for joining us today. I yield back, and I recognize Ranking Member Huffman for an opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary. Welcome. Thanks for being here. I don't have to tell you, Mr. Secretary, that your department has enormous responsibilities, managing 1/5 of all U.S. lands, helping fulfill trust obligations to tribal nations, managing national parks, water systems, protecting our native fish and wildlife, and of course playing a role in wildfire prevention and response. Across every region and state in this country, for many years, people have been able to rely on Interior to discharge these responsibilities. And then DOGE came along with its directive to cut, fire, eliminate, to literally go fast and break things. And DOGE has been allowed to take a wrecking ball to every part of Interior. The consequences could be devastating for millions of everyday Americans. So just take wildfire. Our country's heading into another brutal fire season, and yet Interior's capacity to prepare for and respond to wildfire has been gutted. Now, you testified in the Senate, Mr. Secretary, only about the number of wildland firefighters between your agency and the Department of Agriculture, but it takes a lot more than that, as anyone who has visited a fire camp understands all too clearly. And those people, those thousands of support personnel, including certified wildfire personnel, are gone. It also takes money. Congress appropriated a lot of that for fuel treatment and other much-needed prevention work, and it has been inexplicably delayed, setting us back. So these decisions pose real and immediate threats to homes, lives, and livelihoods. At a minimum, Mr. Secretary, I hope your testimony will acknowledge this reality and this problem. Ideally, I would like to hear you not only acknowledge what DOGE cuts have done to our fire preparedness, but commit to fix it. Now, we hear the same problematic story across Interior. In tribal communities, the BIA firings and funding freezes are stalling or stopping everything from housing construction to public safety projects. At our national parks, millions of Americans are visiting these parks and public lands and already starting to find parks understaffed, services cut, maintenance work delayed following massive staff losses. Across the board, we're seeing an erosion of public services, and yet this administration and this Republican Congress doesn't seem to want to talk about, much less fix these problems. Indeed, they seem to want to exploit this moment. Now, in the Republican reconciliation bill, there is nothing to improve the way the Department of Interior serves people and communities. The singular focus seems to be, and the priority, giving things away to industry, new oil and gas and coal leasing on millions of acres of public lands, slashing fossil fuel royalty rates, gutting environmental review, creating a new pay-to-play permitting scheme for wealthy polluters to dodge legal challenges. And so while everyday Americans are losing public services they count on, from wildfire readiness to water infrastructure and park access, billionaires are getting big tax breaks, and polluters are getting our public lands and sweetheart deals. Mr. Secretary, your comments have added to this disturbing picture. You've often described public lands as part of a federal balance sheet, as if they are assets to be liquidated and sold off to please investors and creditors instead of stewarded for current and future generations. And frankly, your talk about balance sheets sounds more like the vulture capitalist approach that has hollowed out the American economy. Strip the asset, extract the value, and move on. I hope today you will assure us that you value more than just monetary interests and fossil fuel development, that healthy ecosystems and recreation, long-term sustainability, our obligation to conserve public lands for future generations, that these are core values and that you're doing something about it. As Theodore Roosevelt said, we should turn our natural resources over to the next generation increased and not impaired. So, Mr. Secretary, we will ask some hard questions today. We have to do that because the stakes are huge for millions of Americans, but this is not the first time I've asked questions. Since February, I have signed 7 letters to the Department of Interior to get answers to many of the concerns I've outlined this morning. We got our first response late last night. I will read it, but for the most part, our letters have been ignored. And by this point in 2021, Secretary Haaland had already provided multiple responses to committee Republicans. I'm asking you, Mr. Secretary, to commit to replying to our pending oversight letters by the end of this month. Will you agree to do that? Yes. Thank you very much. Mr. Secretary, I look forward to your testimony. There is nothing normal about what is happening in Interior and other agencies right now. Breaking down of public services affecting millions of Americans. We deserve real answers, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, sir. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. I'll now introduce our witness, the Honorable Doug Burgum, Secretary of the U.S. Department of Interior. I'll remind you, Secretary, that under committee rules, you have to limit your oral statement to 5 minutes, but your full statement will appear in the hearing record. And to begin your testimony, just press the on button on your microphone. The light will turn green, and when it turns red at the end of 5 minutes, I'll ask you to please complete your statement if you haven't already done that. I now recognize Secretary Burgum.
Thank you, Chairman. Since my statement will be submitted for the record, I'll just make a few responses to Ranking Member Hoffman. Thank you, Ranking Member Hoffman, for those remarks. I just want to say that I'm new in this position and new in a well, I've served as governor. When I was governor, I didn't have to go before appropriators or legislatures, so relatively new in this process. But I do want to say that one thing that I have found consistent across that is that there's always a focus on inputs. Whatever number might have been in the budget before, if that number has gone down even a penny, people somehow think that that's going to be damaging to citizens, to land, to services, and to the work and the mission and the fulfilling of the laws. But one thing that I've understood over my lifetime, that it's not about the inputs, it's about the outcomes. And certainly under my leadership at the Department of Interior, we're going to be focused on outcomes, and whether that's improving student outcomes at the Bureau of Indian Education, getting to a spot where we're going to be harvesting more timber than we're burning, making sure that when we talk about the balance sheet of America, a balance sheet from business is not about the only people who liquidate balance sheets are people who are going out of business. The United States is not going out of business. We have the strongest balance sheet in the world, but that balance sheet needs to help get us return. We all collectively, regardless of party, were part of a country last year that spent $2,000 billion, that's a $2 trillion deficit. We spent $2,000 billion more than we brought in. That is one of the biggest dangers to our children and our children's children. And so as we look for ways to deliver and deliver on the mission of Interior more efficiently, I would look for bipartisan support for that. To just attack an agency